so here now, as we said, in a story exclusive tonight, is Patrick Byrne, the now former CEO of Overstock.com.
We got a company called T0 that is leading that. We have all these great blockchain companies, and our retail business returned to positive in the black EBITDA in the second quarter. So everything's in a great situation. I have to get away from the retail company based on what I think is going on.
Okay, so obviously you stepped away from your company, you say for the good of the company and the good of the country. You say that you got tangled up in the deep state investigation into President Trump. Tell me, how did all of this start?
Let me give you the bottom line up front. So listen, I'm a hippie. I have nothing to do with the feds. I'm a flag-waving hippie. Twice in my life I had the honor of helping them. So that's that. Let me jump to the bottom line, and this I've learned is the quickest way to explain it. In 2015, 2016, they got back in touch with me for the third time. I didn't know who sent the orders, but I did them. They seemed fishy last summer watching television, and here's the punchline. Here's the punchline, people. Last summer watching television and some congressional hearings, I figured out where those orders came from. They gave him a guy named Peter Strzok, and Bill Freestyle, Carlin, McCabe, Comey. That was who sent the orders. And I finally went to see Buffett. And Buffett's kind of my rabbi, I call him. And since I was here's what it is. This was all political espionage conducted against Hillary Clinton, Rubio, Cruz, and Trump.
What did they ask you to do, Patrick?
There was, well, some of it involved this young lady, Maria Butina, who came here. So some of it involved her.
Okay.
Some of it involves setting up Hillary Clinton for what looked like law enforcement was actually setting her up to be blackmailed. I helped them set up Hillary Clinton to be blackmailed.
What was the nature of the blackmail?
Can't go into it. And so I'm sure there's a bunch of people in Washington who are going to rip me apart. And I've actually been warned.
What was the nature of your relationship with Maria Butina? Did she reach out to you, or did you reach out to her? And how involved were you? Did you have an affair with her for 3 years, or what was the nature of your relationship?
Have you seen the video? I bet you've played it, where candidate Trump is at a conference and this young girl stands up and asks her a question.
Sure.
If you go and look up that conference, which was a 2015 conference in Las Vegas, and I was at that conference, and after I spoke, she actually came up to me and talked about guns. But then she came up the next day and said, listen, I'm really here. Look, I'm really here. I've been sent from Russia to make contact with you. And there's some people in Russia who want to talk to you. They know about you and your relationship with Milton Friedman. Believe it or not, there are people like this in Russia. There are liberals. Anyway, she had this whole story. I don't want to get into it here. I'll put it up on a website called Deep Capture, which is where I used to write to the world.
What did they tell you to do? What did they ask you to do, Patrick?
There was, well, some of it involved this young lady, Maria Butina, setting up Hillary Clinton for what looked like law enforcement was actually setting her up to be blackmailed. Look, I'm really here. I've been sent from Russia to make contact with you. And there's some people in Russia who want to talk to you. They know about you and your relationship with Milton Friedman. Believe it or not, there are people like this in Russia. There are liberals or stuff. We had an intellectual relationship. I was given a green light to meet her again. She turned that into a physical relationship. So we dated for about 6 months. I was trying to yenter her in to some senior foreign policy thinkers. We want to take you to Moscow and want you to speak on Bitcoin and speak on liberalism at the Central Bank, and then we want other people. You have to report that. I reported that, and so that to my clearance authority. And before I know it, the men in black are back in my life, and I was given the green light. That turned romantic. She clearly was swanking around more and more in big shot Republican circles. They knew about her the day she landed. They knew about every one of these meetings she had. They knew that at one point she was going off to have a meeting with Don Jr.
So do you think she was set up by the men in black to approach people in the Trump administration? Is that a possibility?
100%. They knew that she was trying to approach, and her instructions were to approach. She had to build a contact with anyone in the Hillary campaign, Rubio, Cruz, or Trump. And they knew that because she told me, and I let them know. They let it all happen. I could have told you, Democrat, she's much more of a Republican, or much more of a small L liberal. She's a Milton Friedman fan. I'm a Milton Friedman guy. So once she had checked off having met somebody in Clinton's circle, I don't know who, and she was telling me all this, she was just going to focus on Cruz, Rubio, and Trump. At that point, the interest in the United States government in doing anything about this went to zero. Look, she's telling me that in a matter of weeks, she's going to be at some conference of conservatives, and Donald Trump is going to be taken down and out the back door of his hotel and be taken to meet her and this and that. What do you want me to do? Let me take her off for a trip and whisk her away to the Bahamas?
Yeah.
Or what do you want? And they said, no, we're going to let it all happen. 100%.
So, do you believe
100%.
Do you believe that she was working for them, for these men in suits in the United States, or that she was working for the Russian government, or some combination?
No, I'm not going into that. I'm not going into that. It's not. She wasn't working for the men in suits here. Listen, here's the other main event. It's horrible to even say the initials FBI involved in this. It wasn't the FBI. The FBI got hijacked from the top. It's the top. It's entirely
well, you talked
the top.
about Comey. You talked about Brennan, Clapper. So you're talking about the CIA?
I've said there's 3 officials whose names were used with me, X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to say on your show. The feds all have this. I'm sorry, the legitimate feds all have this as of April. There were 3 names used at the 3 senior officials. Right. They were behind all of this. And the FBI was out of it. The FBI, they came back, and this time they specifically said, we need you to conduct rekindle your romantic relationship, and the orders are coming from X, Y, and Z. And they felt horrible. I want to be clear, these are men and women of honor, and I think those are illegal orders. And they made very clear to me, you do not have to take these, you do not have to help. I think they didn't want me to, but they felt terrible.
So when you say all the way up, are you talking, what do you mean? The White House? The CIA?
I think.
Or you're talking about
names.
entities that were separate from these? Like when you say it wasn't the FBI, but you say it was Peter Strzok, are you sort of carving him out as being part of a separate operation, separate from the FBI?
No. I'm just, forget Strzok for a moment. The X, Y, and Z are actual human beings whose names you know, who were in the Obama administration. Let me introduce her to some people in our foreign policy think tank establishment, and would that be okay? You know, like she wanted to talk about John Stuart Mill and Erasmus and the Greeks. I mean, she's a real intellectual. And she stopped talking so much about John Stuart Mill and John Rawls and Milton Friedman, and she started talking about all these Republican bigwigs she's swanking around with. I could have told you in December of 2015, I was forming this thought. It's starting to seem that what they're doing is letting this can-o scandal develop on the Republicans, and someday they're going to pick it up and shake it, crack it, and spray it on the Republicans. Nah, no way. No way would James Comey, no way would President Obama ever do something like that. That's literally what, and I'm not saying President Obama was involved. Don't make any assumptions about who X, Y, and Z are. Those are all up to the DOJ involved. I was already hypothesizing this is starting to seem like they're just deliberately letting this grenade develop on the Republicans. Are they just going to pull the pin on it someday?
I hear you.
No, in March of 2016, she asked me over to Russia to give a speech. Her goal was to get me to Moscow to give a talk at the Central Bank on Bitcoin and liberalism, and then to take me to a resort in the Altai Mountains that was going to be shut down for 3 days so that 40 to 45 people would get together from the oligarchs and the governments, and they're liberals, and we're going to spend 3 days talking about liberalism and also anyway, this was the offer, and she had been sent by them to get me to come back and do this.
Yeah.
When she asked me in March to come over again, she was saying, speak in St. Petersburg on blockchain, and I think that we can change the world and eliminate poverty and stuff with blockchain. Come speak. Putin is going to be there. It's been arranged. You're going to have 60 minutes alone with Putin, and this will be great. At that point, I was told, break up with her and get her out of your life. And I worked on something else involving corruption of a federal official.
Okay.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
When that matter involving the corruption of a federal official was complete, it ended in an odd way that sounded fishy. It ended in an odd way that was very fishy, and again, the details are all in the Department of Justice, and but it was involved in a corruption of a federal official, and it ended in a way that smelled like skunk. At which point, when they came back around July 1st of 2016, which is to say a few weeks before the Republican convention, but about the time that Trump became the
nominee,
presumptive nominee, not nominee, but they came back and said, boy, did we make a mistake. Russia. We need to do it, and I want to be clear, they said this. They said the United States never, ever asked this of somebody. Never asked a citizen to conduct a romantic relationship in order to get information. This is such a national security emergency. We need to ask you to do this if you're willing, and the orders come from X, Y, and Z. We want to be clear, Patrick. You are absolutely in your rights to refuse this. You have no obligation to. We never, in all our careers, we've never heard of an American citizen being asked to sleep with someone in order to get information and such. I want to be clear about something. And so then I conducted, for the following 7 months, to all intents and purposes, conducted another romance. That entire time I was lying to the federal government. I put on a show. I was flying her, whining and dining her. That second time I spent time with her, I created the impression deliberately that I was complying with the request and being romantic. What I was actually doing, and she has confirmed this, I understand, from a prison cell. She has no, she could have every right to hate me. I understand she's confirmed to journalists. I was a total gentleman. Anyone observing and surveilling would have thought that we were deeply in love. I never laid a finger on her because I knew it would disgrace our country and it would disgrace Maria. And that entire period that I was being instructed to romance her, I created the impression, but it was all a lie. And I did that, and at the same time, I set up X, Y, and Z for some felony charges.
Okay.
He won't. I can tell you, Peter Strzok, you want to see a former director crap his pants? Pardon me. Go stick a television camera on Peter Strzok, or let's just say James Comey, and say the name Patrick Byrne. You will see a former director of the FBI crap his